So this video is going to talk about an interview between Neil Armstrong and Patrick Moore, which took place in 1970. And that's after the moon landing, the supposed moon landing. Okay, 1969, the moon landing took place, and there was a press conference shortly after the moon landing. And the peculiar thing is that Patrick Moore asked some of the same questions that he asked um, at the press conference in this interview. He asked the same questions to poses the same questions to Neil Armstrong, such as the corona of the sun, did they see it, and did they see any stars in the sky, and so forth. Now, if you look at the press conference, the astronauts, the body language, their attitude is very strange. They look very sad, kind of distraught. Don't not ex- They don't look excited about what they just supposedly did, landed on the moon, and all three of them they resigned. They resigned right after landing on the moon. Neil Armstrong didn't give any other interviews, I think, since this interview with Patrick Moore. As far as I understand, he didn't do any interviews. He made a few public appearances, but didn't make a big deal about the moon landing. In fact, seemed to want to avoid talking about it, which is very strange. Um, I mean, imagine if you were the first man to put your foot on the moon. I mean, I would be very, very proud of that. The reason why people say Neil Armstrong didn't want to talk about it is because they said he was a very humble guy. I think he seemed like a very humble guy, but I don't think that's enough of a reason to avoid the topic. But nevertheless, I looked at the interview. The interview is kind of strange. It's a funny interview because Patrick Moore. I've seen interviews conducted by Patrick Moore, and he seemed like the worst listener I've ever seen in my life. Interviews saw, Patrick Moore was just rumbling between any space and pause, just trying to intersect his own opinion, like and but with Neil Armstrong, is giving his full attention, and it's either one of two things: either Neil Armstrong is his idol, or he's kind of working with Neil Armstrong. They both know the questions he was going to ask. Orchestrated interview, like many interviews are. But in light of this interview, I'm thinking of this interview was in 1970, and if you think since 1970s, more than 40 years, uh, this moon landing conspiracy has grown. At first, when people started coming out saying, "Look, man never went to the moon," it was a very crazy conspiracy theory. I remember when I was younger, the first time I heard that, I was really thinking that is the craziest thing I've ever heard. And with time, the idea came around again and again and again, and I started seeing the things about, for instance, the flag that was moving so vigorously. And it's not like on that MythBusters program. They were trying to say, because they were showing a video uh, of the flag moving slightly, like just kind of almost like it was bending. So they said that is possible in a vacuum space, which the moon is in a vacuum space. There's no air on the moon. They said that it was possible, but they didn't investigate the actual footage of the flag like spinning around the pole and really waving, and those kind of things are very, very strange. Simple things like that, which I haven't seen anybody from the NASA apologists, I haven't seen any of them explain this so far. Uh, Regarding these things like the photos and intersecting shadows and the third light source on the moon, or the third light source that can, there are many, many things like that. If you are interested to look at it, if you haven't seen any uh, documentary on the moon landing conspiracies, if you want to see it, they're available. You can see it. I doubt a lot of the people who really want to defend NASA want to see those documentaries, because for them it's not about when you defend something that you feel a religious conviction about, it's not in your interest to look at facts that are opposing your conviction. And these things are facts. The thing about the flag, the thing about the intersecting shadows,